I remember the day like it was yesterday. At the time I was going to school in New York, playing baseball, doing my thing. And I saw that a couple of my friends had posted a couple Instagram stories of them being in New York City. And I was like, oh my God, no way. Like, you guys are here. Like, I'm going to pull up. And they told me, they're like, yeah, come, pull up. So I took a train, got off of Grand Central Station with about 5% battery in my phone. Had no idea where I was, no idea where I was going. But lucky enough, my phone survived, stayed alive, didn't die. And Google Maps led me to exactly where they were. So we met up at a restaurant. We were chopping it up, just catching up because it's been a while since I had seen them. And, the conversation about my ex came up, which was okay because they all knew who my ex was. And we were all relatively friends, We all had hung out a couple of times together and whatnot. And it was great. And I was just telling them how we had mutually agreed to, break up. And that we actually ended on good terms because we both came to a realization that things just weren't going to work out. And it was just finally time to let go. And there was multiple times throughout the relationship where she did want to break up. And I always fought for us. I always wanted us to stay together. And I always told her that there's still a fire between us and we shouldn't just let it go out. And that's a topic for another video. If a girl ever wants to break up with you or leave you, you show her the door and you let her walk out of your life. But after that conversation ended, we went about our day and went on exploring the city. And at one point, my friend just grabbed me to the side. We were in the back of the group and he just broke the news to me. He said, yo, your girl cheated on you. And I was super shocked. I was like, what are you even talking about? And he had just broke down the whole situation. And little did I know, I had gotten cheated on during our relationship. And I didn't find out 2 years later, until 2 years later. And I was just shocked. I wasn't really processing any emotions at the time. And, we were in New York City. I was kind of distracted, so I didn't really think about it. So I stayed with them for a couple of days. And once I finally got back to school, once I finally got back to my dorm, and once I was finally alone, I was able to process what actually happened. I was like, damn, like, I got cheated on and I didn't know one thing about it. I was so clueless. And of course, I just felt a rush of anger, embarrassment, sadness, disappointment, depression, all the negative emotions that you could possibly think of. And I didn't want to feel those emotions at the time. So all I did was just shove them down, push them so far down that I wouldn't feel them. I wouldn't think about them. And I just go on about my day. So to keep myself distracted, I started putting more time into baseball, probably the most amount of time I've ever done in my life. And because of that, I got significantly better. I had my best season in college by far. I started hitting the gym sometimes twice a day, just to distract myself. And I started to eat clean. I started to get right. And, although time was going on, I still felt this sense of like heaviness around me. And I didn't quite understand why, because, I was getting in shape. I was playing great baseball. I was meeting new people, meeting new girls. And I could just still feel this heaviness with me. And what I came to realize is that every time I had those rush of negative emotions, I just kept pushing them further and further away from me. And it just wasn't until one day where I was like, bro, fuck it. Just feel it all out. Feel out all those emotions. And I was crying. I was angry. I was guilty. I was, all the negative emotions that you could possibly think of. And after finally feeling those emotions out, I was able to feel lighter. I felt better. And that's the funny thing about humans, is that we don't feel our emotions sometimes. And all all we do is run away from them or push them away until, quite frankly, we can't anymore. And all there's left to do is to feel those emotions, right? And the same thing applies to some positive emotions as well. Like, we go to the gym to have a nice body, but we go to the gym because that nice body is going to give us confidence, right? We want that nice car because that car is going to give us the feeling of having status. You know, we want that money because money is going to give us the feeling of being secure, comfortable, right? So the same thing applies with our negative emotions, but we just don't want to feel them, right? Because in reality, it hurts. But what I learned is that it wasn't until I processed those emotions, until I felt them all out, that I was able to not only feel better, but look back at my past, look back at my relationship, and finally put the pieces of the puzzle together and realize where I went wrong, where I could have done better. And although it doesn't excuse what she did to me, I just wanted to make sure that something like that never happened again, right? So what I learned is that, bottom line, I wasn't the leader of the relationship. I wasn't in my masculine frame. You know, I had constantly been disrespected before, and I would let it slide. You know, I didn't want to step on any toes. I didn't want to cause any problems. So I behaved to the best that I possibly could, and all that did was make everything worse, right? But I would have never learned that if I was able to process my emotions. You see, there's certain things that happen in our life that have to happen. Like in the Spider-Man movie, you know, the canon events. You know, there's certain events in our life that have to happen. If not, something catastrophic would happen, right? And this was one of them. But if I had not felt out my emotions, I would have never learned everything that I've ever learned, right? And because I learned everything, I'm super grateful for what happened. You know, I'm the man that I am now. I'm a confident leader. I believe in myself. And fortunately for me, now I'm good with women and I understand the dynamics of how a sexual relationship works. But none of that would have happened if I never felt those emotions, never felt that sadness, never felt that anger, right? So besides, you know, like the bro advice that everyone gives out on the internet, go to the gym, get your money up, talk to as many girls as possible, yada, yeah, like all those things are great. But what you have to do is give yourself the permission to feel out those emotions. And like, yeah, it's gonna hurt, but you're gonna learn. And because you're gonna learn, you're gonna become a better man. And because you become a better man, more likely than not, something like that possibly will never happen again. You know? Feel out those emotions. You know, emotions are our navigating system. They direct us where we need to go. They tell us what we have to do. And without them, we'd be lost. Use them to your advantage. Don't try to suppress your emotion. Don't try to shy away from them. Use them to your advantage. They'll help you out greatly. If you enjoyed more videos like this, some raw talk, then go ahead and like and subscribe and tell me what else I should talk about. All right? Have a good one, guys.